Original post I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this on Reddit, but here I am, sitting alone in my apartment replaying the scene over and over in my head. My hands are still a little shaky as I type this, because part of me feels humiliated, and the other part feels strangely free. My girlfriend and I have been together for a while now. On paper, everything looked solid. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but I thought we were good. She's smart, funny, ambitious, and I genuinely saw a future with her. I wasn't perfect, but I gave what I could. Loyalty, stability, care. But there's always been this one thing, her male best friend. Let me be clear, I've never been the insecure type. If you have friends of the opposite gender, fine. But from the beginning, he rubbed me the wrong way. He had this smugness, this way of hovering too close to her, of constantly needing to insert himself into conversations. He wasn't just a friend, he was the best friend, always around, always talking to her, and always pushing the line with his so-called jokes. And some of those jokes, they weren't jokes at all. They were digs at me. He'd laugh about how I didn't make as much money as he did, or how my car wasn't as flashy. He'd throw shade at my job, saying things like, "Oh, that sounds boring as hell. I could never do that." I'd let it roll off my back most of the time. I kept quiet out of respect for her, thinking, this is her best friend. Don't cause drama. Don't make her choose. Maybe that was my mistake, being too tolerant, too silent. Fast forward to last week. We were invited to dinner with a group of mutual friends. My girlfriend, her best friend, of course, and a few others. I thought it would just be a casual evening. Food, laughter, a few drinks. But I should have known the moment I saw the smirk on his face when we sat down that he was going to try something. And boy, did he. At first, it was the usual, little jabs here and there. But then, out of nowhere, he leaned back in his chair, smirked, and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Man, she could do way better than you." Silence. Then nervous laughter from a couple of people at the table. My face burned, my ears rang. In that moment, I swear I could feel every single eye on me, watching to see how I'd react. I'd been disrespected before, but not like that. Not so openly. Not in front of her. For a second, I thought about just swallowing it, forcing a laugh, letting it slide like I had so many times before. But something inside me snapped. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, calm but firm, "The only person who should be worried about being good enough is you. Because for all the time you spend hanging around her, you're still just the punchline nobody takes seriously." The table went quiet. No laughter this time. His smirk vanished. He tried to come up with something, but nothing came out. For once, I stood my ground. I refused to let him humiliate me, and then, the part that really broke me, instead of backing me up, instead of even just letting it go, my girlfriend turned on me. Her eyes widened and she snapped, "Apologize, now, or we're over." I sat there frozen. Did I hear her right? Apologize? To him? The guy who just insulted me, her boyfriend, in front of everyone? The entire table looked stunned. One friend tried to change the subject. Another stared at their plate, but I could feel it. Everyone had just witnessed the truth. She wasn't on my side. She was on his. In that moment, I realized something painful but necessary. She valued his opinion more than my dignity. So I smiled. Not out of happiness, but out of clarity. And I didn't say a single word, no apology, no argument, no begging, just silence. The rest of the dinner was awkward. People made small talk. The food suddenly tasted like ash, and I couldn't wait to leave. When the check came, I tossed down my share, stood up, and walked out. I didn't look back. I haven't spoken to her since. She's texted a couple of times, but I haven't responded. I don't know what she expected. Maybe that I'd come crawling back, maybe that I'd get over it. But how do you get over something like that? How do you stay with someone who demands you humiliate yourself just to protect her friends? Ego? The thing is, I feel conflicted. Part of me wonders if I overreacted. Was it just a stupid joke that I took too seriously? Did I embarrass her by clapping back? Could I have handled it differently? But then I think about her words. Apologize, or we're over, and the silence that followed when she realized I wasn't going to play that game. That wasn't a joke. That was her showing me exactly where I stood. And as much as it stings, there's also a weird sense of freedom. Because in that silence, in that refusal to bend, I think I finally found my line in the sand. So yeah, I guess it's over. And the wildest part? A week later, when she came home, she finally learned what done really means. Update. 1 so. It's been a week since that dinner. Honestly, it feels like a month with how much has happened in my head and my inbox. I figured I'd give you all an update because things didn't just stop after I walked away from that table. In some ways, that was only the beginning. When I left the restaurant that night, I didn't say goodbye, didn't text her after, didn't answer the phone. I went home, sat in the silence, and just let myself breathe. For once, I didn't feel the need to explain myself or chase after her. I cut off communication completely. No texts, no calls, no "can we talk?" Nothing. I didn't block her at first. Not because I wanted to keep the door open, but because I wanted her to feel the silence for once. At first, she blew up my phone. Angry texts. Wow, really mature walking out like that. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You need to fix this before it gets worse. She tried, calling multiple times, left a couple of voicemails that were half yelling, half guilt-tripping. It was always about what I had done wrong. Not once did she acknowledge that her best friend had crossed a line or that she had humiliated me by siding with him. After a couple of days, the tone shifted. Suddenly, the anger faded into apology. Or at least what she thought was an apology. I didn't mean what I said. It was just a joke. You embarrassed him, and I overreacted. Please stop ignoring me. We can talk this out. But the thing that struck me the most was how she still didn't get it. Every message was about him, about how I had supposedly made him feel, not about how I felt being mocked in front of everyone. Not about the fact that she demanded I apologize to the guy who disrespected me. It was like she couldn't even see it, or worse, she didn't care to. Then came the mutual friends. I started getting texts from 2 people who were at the dinner. One said, "She's really upset. Maybe you should just talk to her. It was awkward for everyone." Another said, "You know she didn't mean it. Don't throw away your relationship over one fight." I didn't respond to them either. Because here's the truth. I didn't throw away the relationship. She did. When she made that choice at the table, when she looked me in the eye and said, "Apologize or we're over," that was her decision. I just accepted it. 1 week later, she decided she wasn't done. It was a Saturday afternoon. I'd been cleaning up my place, reorganizing, making it mine again. I had already boxed up some of her things, a sweater she left over, a few toiletries, little pieces of her that had been scattered across my space. I wasn't sitting in bitterness, but I also wasn't clinging. I was moving forward, slowly but surely. And then there was a knock at my door. I opened it, and there she was. She looked nervous, almost like a kid about to get scolded. She had that shaky half-smile, the kind that says, "I'm in trouble, but maybe, if I play this right, I can get out of it." "Can we talk?" she asked. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She sat down on my couch, glanced around, and I could see it register in her eyes. The changes. The fact that some of her stuff wasn't there anymore. The fact that the energy of the place felt different, lighter. She tried to start casual, asking how I'd been, like we were just picking up after a normal fight. But when I didn't give her much back, she dropped the act. "You're really going to throw this away over one fight?" she asked, her voice rising. Over one stupid dinner where everyone was joking around? I looked at her for a long moment before I answered. I wanted to be careful with my words, not because I was afraid of her reaction, but because I wanted there to be no doubt in her mind. No, I said calmly. I'm not throwing this away. You did. You threw it away when you chose him over me. She blinked at me like I had just slapped her. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. Finally, she said, I didn't choose him. I was embarrassed. You didn't have to attack him like that. Attack him? I said. He humiliated me in front of everyone. He said you could do better than me, and instead of standing up for me, you demanded that I apologize. You chose him. End of story. Her eyes welled up, and suddenly the tough exterior cracked. She started crying, her voice breaking as she said, I messed up, okay? I didn't mean it like that. I was caught off guard. I was trying to keep the peace. Please don't do this. Don't throw us away. And here's the part I think some of you will understand, and some maybe won't. It hurt. It really did. Seeing her cry, hearing her beg, it wasn't satisfying in the way I thought it might be. It just hurt. But at the same time, I felt this strange calm come over me. Like for the first time, I was completely in control. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to prove a point. The point had already been made. I looked at her and said, I'm not angry anymore, but I'm done. I deserve someone who doesn't humiliate me, someone who has my back no matter what. And you showed me that's not you. She shook her head, pleaded, even grabbed my hand at one point, but I gently pulled it away. I wasn't going to let myself get pulled back in by tears or promises. After a few more minutes of going in circles, she finally stood up. Her face was streaked with tears, and she whispered, You're making a mistake. Maybe I am, I thought, but not the mistake she thinks. She left, closing the door behind her, and the silence that followed felt final. I sat down on my couch, exhaled, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. It's not easy. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt, or that I don't miss the good moments we had. But I know deep down this was the right call, because no matter what, respect is non-negotiable, and once it's gone, it doesn't come back. So yeah, she left in tears. I stayed calm, and for the first time in months, I slept like a baby that night. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. A lot of you gave me the clarity I needed to stand firm. It's strange how a bunch of strangers on the internet can make you feel more understood than the person who's supposed to love you. Something tells me this isn't the last I'll hear from her. She's not the type to just let go. So, if things get messier, and I have a feeling they might, I'll be back with another update. Update? Too well, Reddit. I guess I was right in my last update. She wasn't going to let go quietly. If update 1 was about silence and clarity, this one is about noise. Desperate, messy, embarrassing noise. After she left my apartment crying, I thought maybe that was it. I thought maybe she'd lick her wounds, accept that the relationship was over and move on with her life. But apparently the concept of done wasn't something she understood, because that's when the escalation began. It started with texts, a flood of them. 1 hour she'd be apologizing. Please, can we just start over? I swear I'll do better. I miss you. I can't sleep. I can't eat. Please talk to me. The next hour, she'd flip. You're pathetic. Who do you think you are ignoring me like this? No one else will put up with you. Don't think you're some prize. It was a pendulum swing of desperation and bitterness, and I stayed silent through all of it. Then came him, the male best friend. I got a text from an unknown number one night that said, You better stop treating her like this or we're going to have a problem. At first I laughed, thinking, really? This guy again? But then he doubled down, sending another message. If you don't man up and apologize, people are going to know what kind of loser you really are. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I knew what this was: intimidation, an attempt to scare me into crawling back, not even for her sake, but for his ego. Word started spreading through our mutual circle, too. Some people reached out to me, clearly, on my side. They'd say things like, "Man, I don't blame you. That was brutal what she said." Others tried to play mediator. "You two were good together. Don't let one fight ruin it." But then there were those who clearly believed her side of the story, and that's because she had taken it public. One morning, I woke up to 10 different screenshots in my inbox. She had gone on social media, vague posting about me. Her caption read something like, "Imagine throwing away years together over one stupid joke. Some people are just too sensitive to handle a real relationship." She painted herself as the victim. She twisted the entire situation to make it look like I had blown up over nothing, embarrassed her in front of friends, and abandoned her without explanation. The comments were a mix of sympathy and skepticism. Some people told her, "He sounds controlling, you're better off." Others wrote, "There's always two sides to the story." And then, of course, people forwarded me the posts. Screenshots flooded my phone. It was humiliating, but also clarifying. She wasn't just refusing to accept what happened. She was rewriting history. When the online pity party didn't work, she escalated again. She showed up at my apartment twice. The first time, she knocked for almost 20 minutes, alternating between pleading and yelling. I stayed silent inside. The second time, she waited by my car for an hour until I had to call a friend to drive me somewhere else just to avoid her. And then, the boldest move yet, she showed up at my work. I work in an office building with a front desk, and my coworker texted me, "Hey, your girlfriend's here." I had to correct him. She was apparently begging the receptionist to let her upstairs, saying she just needed 5 minutes. Luckily, security escorted her out before things got worse. At that point, I knew this wasn't going to end quietly. And I was right. Couple of weeks later, one of our mutual friends threw a birthday party. I debated not going. I knew she'd be there, and the thought of another scene made my stomach knot. But then I thought, why should I avoid people I care about just because she can't let go? So I went. Sure enough, she was there, and not just her male best friend too, glued to her side like her shadow. The moment I walked in, I could feel the tension. Conversations hushed, eyes darted. People were waiting to see if something was going to happen. And of course it did. Halfway through the night, while I was talking to a couple of friends near the kitchen, she came over, him in tow. She stood there, arms crossed, eyes narrowed, and said loud enough for half the room to hear, "You owe me an apology." The room went quiet. I raised an eyebrow and said, "Excuse me?" She lifted her chin, looking more defiant than she probably felt. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone that night. You need to own up to it." I glanced around. People were watching. Some were even recording on their phones. And in that moment, I realized this was it, the showdown. She thought she could corner me publicly, make me crumble, force me to submit. But instead, I took a deep breath and said calmly, "No, let's tell the truth since you want to do this here." And then I laid it out, clear as day. How her best friend disrespected me by saying she could do better. How I stood up for myself without raising my voice. How instead of backing me up, she demanded I apologize to the person who insulted me. How she chose him over me in front of everyone. The room was dead silent. People looked at her, then at him, then back at me. And I could see it in their eyes. They understood. Her face went pale. Her mouth opened like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. That's when her best friend tried to jump in, puffing his chest out. "You're twisting it," he said. "You were out of line that night, man. Everyone knows it." But this time, something unexpected happened. Instead of siding with him, A few people actually laughed. Someone muttered, "Dude, give it up." Another said, "You were the one who started it." The tide had turned. For the first time, people weren't laughing with him. They were laughing at him. His face turned red, and he sputtered something about immaturity. But no one was buying. She tugged at his arm, whispering urgently, but the damage was already done. She stormed out, dragging him with her, tears streaking her face as people whispered behind her. And me? I just stood there, calm, collected, not gloating, not angry. Just free. The rest of the night, people came up to me saying things like, "Wow, I didn't know it went down like that," or "She really tried to spin it, huh?" I realized in that moment that I didn't even feel angry anymore. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want her to hurt. I just wanted peace. And I had it. She lost both respect and control that night. Not because I shouted louder, not because I played dirty, but because the truth spoke for itself. And if I'm honest, watching her walk out humiliated wasn't satisfying in the way I thought it would be. It was just closure. So yeah, that's where things stand now. She's embarrassed. Her best friend has lost his shine in the group, and I'm finally breathing easier. But something tells me this still isn't the end. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that she doesn't go quietly. If she tries one last time, and I think she will, I'll be back with the final update. Final update, it's been a few weeks since everything went down, and I wanted to come back with one last update, the one that finally brings me closure. I'll be honest, I didn't expect this whole situation to take such a toll on me. When you've invested years of your life into someone, it's not easy to walk away, even if you know deep down that walking away is the healthiest thing you can do. The silence after that disastrous dinner and the fallout that followed was both freeing and heavy. But now, I can say with complete certainty, I've reached the point of peace I never thought I'd find. A few weeks ago, she reached out one last time. I hadn't heard from her in a while. She'd stopped with the angry texts and dramatic social media posts after her little public meltdown when I laid everything out in front of our mutual friends. So when her name flashed on my phone, part of me almost ignored it. But curiosity won out, and I answered. Her voice sounded different. Not angry, not defensive, just tired. She asked if we could meet in person. Against my better judgment, I agreed. I guess I wanted to hear what she had to say face to face, without the theatrics, without an audience. When we met, she looked like a completely different person. Confidence and smugness she'd always carried around, especially when her best friend was by her side, was gone. She was quiet, almost timid. She admitted she messed up. She said she regretted not standing by me that night, that she realized demanding an apology from me was the final straw that killed what we had. She told me her so-called best friend had distanced himself too, and that their bond wasn't what she thought it was. In her words, he was never really there for her, and she was starting to see that now. And then came the part I knew was coming. She begged for another chance. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't even feel the need to rub anything in her face. I just sat there calmly, and for the first time, I felt nothing but clarity. I told her, "I'm not angry anymore, but I'm not going back. You taught me exactly what I don't want in a partner. Someone who sides with others over me, who humiliates me in public, who values their image more than the person standing by their side. I can't build a life with someone like that, and I won't." She cried. She tried to argue that everyone makes mistakes, that love should be enough to forgive. But to me, it wasn't about forgiveness anymore. I'd already forgiven her in my heart, because I wasn't carrying the anger. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It means I've moved on. Eventually, she realized there was nothing left to say. She left in tears, and I watched her go without an ounce of doubt in my mind. That was the moment I knew truly new. I was free. Word travels fast in our friend group, and while I don't go looking for updates, people still talk. Apparently, things between her and the best friend soured not long after the dinner incident. Some say he pulled back because he didn't want to deal with the drama. Others say he was never really interested in her the way she thought. Either way, they're not nearly as close anymore. The respect she once commanded in our social circle is gone, too. The same friends who used to laugh at his jokes or brush off her attitude now keep their distance. It turns out, when you expose someone's true colors in public, people remember. I don't take pleasure in her downfall. Not anymore. I don't need to. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel like karma did its job. As for me, I've never felt lighter. I've been focusing on myself, throwing myself into hobbies I neglected, working out more, and rediscovering parts of myself I lost while trying to fit in with her world. My apartment feels different now that it's completely mine. I rearranged things, redecorated, and it finally feels like a space filled with my energy instead of the shadow of what we used to be. Work has been going well too, and without the constant drama or second-guessing, I feel sharper and more focused. I've even started casually dating again. Nothing serious, but it's been refreshing to meet new people and realize that there are women out there who actually appreciate respect and give it back. But more than anything, I feel grateful. Grateful that she showed me who she was before. I wasted even more years trying to force something that was never going to work. Grateful that I found the strength to stay silent when silence was the loudest answer I could give. Looking back, it still blows my mind that everything unraveled because of one dinner, one comment, one demand. But the truth is, that moment wasn't the cause. It was just the spotlight that revealed everything wrong in our relationship. Her reaction that night wasn't a slip-up. It was her true self, unfiltered. And I realized I didn't need to argue, didn't need to beg, didn't need to fight for someone who wouldn't fight for me. She wanted me to apologize or it was over. I didn't say a word. And that silence gave me everything I needed, my peace, my freedom, and my self-respect.